Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. I'm coming. I just want to get some water. Sorry, I'm coming. I'm not on. All right, so you do it before class. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم أخرجني من الظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا باب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علمك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Lord, please take me out of the darkness of doubt and enter me into the light of knowledge. By your mercy, the most merciful of the merciful. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. All right, so it's been a while we hadn't had ethics class because of all the Muharram and the Eids and everything was falling on Sundays, right? Even the day of Ashura falling on Sunday night, either Adha, either Gadir, either Mubahila. So just to recap really quickly, so we can understand, be on the same page. So we're moving forward too. I just wanna don't do that. I just wanna go over the class really quickly. So can anybody tell me what is ethics in Arabic? What's ethics in Arabic? Adab. Akhlaq. Adab is behavior. Etiquette. Akhlaq is ethics. Akhlaq. Akhlaq defines adab. Okay, let's take a this is in last class. What do you say akhlaq is concerned with? The study of what? Study of refinement of the soul.
Mind and soul.
Mm-hmm. It's the study of why we behave the way we behave, right? We said that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet peace be upon him, they are upon the khuluqin azim, right? They are upon the best of manners, the best of akhlaq, the best of ways of caring about yourself. What surah was this from? What was or ayah? Surah Qalam ayat 4. Keep all your notes. Look over all your notes. All right. So today, what we came to the conclusion is that in order for somebody to develop a certain disposition meaning in Arabic being khulq, coming from the word akhlaq, plural of khulq, dispositions. How is it that we develop certain dispositions? And I had you do an exercise of writing down in your book the different traits that you have that you identify as positive or identify as negative, right? And then I asked you at the end of the last class, where do these traits come from? Where did they come from? Where do you develop them from, right? So today we're going to look at that. Where do our traits come from? I really this projector thing really have my kind of outside. You don't know where the screen going. You have to pull it on screen. All of a sudden disappear from the office. Right. So today in today's class, we're going to look at a number of factors regarding the formation of the disposition or the khulq, right? The khulq being the way you care about yourself. What do you say disposition is? What is disposition from the last class?
Disposition is the end result from your thoughts and the actions. Meaning the result of your thoughts.
Right. Yeah. It's the way that
disposition refers to
thoughts and your soul and all of those things manifest themselves into your personality, your characteristics. So, how is disposition formed? Sorry. I'm hearing you, sis. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I was saying disposition refers to a person's inherent qualities of mind and character. It's the origin of activities that man performs spontaneously without thinking about them.
I am dishonest. Why do I have that trait? Or I get up every morning and I pray my salat on time. I wake up to Tahajjud and every night. Or I am very respectful to my parents. You know, these are good traits. There are some negative, some good inside it. Why do I have these traits? Where do they come from? Right? So, in the study of akhlaq, you want to look at the origins of things, the reasons why they're there, and then you can start either refining them or Xing them out. There's a concept of ismat. What is ismat? Ismat. Ain, Sod, Mim, Tamar, Buta. Ismat is the same thing that we call the Ahl Bayt Ma'sum. Ma'sumin because they have ismat. They are infallible. They have no sins, right? Is it that we can develop ourselves to such a place where we have no sins? Is that possible? Aya. Is it possible for us to have no sins, to be masoom? Huh?
I would say yes.
You can become masoom.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is ismat? Ismat is having no sins, infallibility, or at least being perfected from sinning. So yes, both of you are right. On the one hand, you cannot be completely masoom, but there are different levels of ismat. So for us, there is the lower level of ismat, the small ismat, where you can leave off one sin at a time, and you become masoom to each sin. So let's say, for example, I'm accustomed watching on mahram, I really like to watch them being done left, right? You start refining yourself piece by piece until eventually you leave it off and you become masoom to that. Then you move on to the next thing, right? And you move on to the next thing, and you keep doing that until eventually, inshallah, you refine yourself enough that you become on a certain level of ismat. If you want to see ismat on that level, an example of that, look at the ayatollahs, look at the scholars. Because they leave off certain sins that we will be jumping up in. We dancing and bathing in sins, and they just leaving it off piece by piece. They're refining the souls over years until they become ayats of Allah, signs of Allah, where you can see that this person is not engaged in certain behavior. To the point where even laughter, something like laughter, when I crack a joke now or somebody bust a joke now, I bust not laughing loud. You hear my mouth by the road. The Prophet upon him spoke about the person whose akhlaq is such a level that even when they laugh, it's just a smile. You understand? You don't see the athletes and them busting joke and they rock back, hey boy, you see over there, and they can stand on it, you understand? You tell them something, they might even just smile and that is it. You understand? Because they reach a certain level where even the vain talk, because vain talk, engaging in vain talk is something that you need to leave off in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about in the Quran. Just sitting down old talking, vain talk, and leads to having a certain disposition. You see somebody just walking. Sometimes you see somebody just walking and you know where you go. This man wants to play chickens. Hey, look at man coming, boy. As he walk in, hey, fellas, I start old talk one time and start laughing at old talk one time. Because that's his disposition. He's inclined to old talk. He's inclined to vain talk. He's inclined to make people laugh. He's inclined himself to laughing a lot. This, in Islam, you might say, well, what is the problem with laughing in Islam? Then look at Imam Ali al-Islam. He says, if you were to understand where you're going, if you know the part of the grave and all that kind of thing, you wouldn't even have time to laugh. You'll laugh less. And you see that the they reach that stage. You say smile. They used to make jokes, but they didn't bust no laughing and it's a stuff for the kind of fun. So what are these traits? So for example, myself, as a man, I like to joke, right? I really like to talk and shit. Where did I get that from? Reflecting on that recently, I realized that my grandfather was a real old talker. He used to be strong along in the top 10s long time, doing stuff, even in his personal life, he was a prankster. You understand? So for me now, that's something that I inherited. So the first aspect of disposition and the formation of disposition, before you get into that, in yourself, akhlaq is the plural of khulq, right? Which means disposition. Now the disposition itself is a trait or a characteristic or property of the soul, right? So akhlaq is the plural of khulq, which means disposition. In everybody, you will see their disposition. It's a property of your soul. This is understood as a malaka. They call it malaka, right? One of the traits or the properties. Malaka coming from mulk meaning something that you possess, the possession. So your soul, one of the things that it possesses, the malaka, is khulq, its disposition, right? It is the source of all activities that man performs spontaneously without thinking about them, right? So I remember in secondary school, for example, I would say something that I thought was just normal and people start laughing. And I'll think, well, I'm not making a joke, but people laugh and say it's funny, so okay, I'll do bust an next joke like that because people find it funny. It's something that happens spontaneously. I never thought about it, but because of my disposition of being somebody who makes jokes, which is something I inherited, which I didn't know at the time, things I say may come across as funny, or I might find a way to make things funny without much effort. I'd rather sit down and say, okay, this is a joke, let me make a joke here now. You understand? It just happens naturally. This is a trait that is part of my soul, right? Some people, for example, they might have an instinct for things. So you might tell them something and they say, that's something right, that's foolishness, right? They automatically have an instinct of logic and thinking in a certain way, right? And you see that probably the parents the same way. So automatically you see that that's a trait that they have handed down from parents from generation to generation. Sometimes you might see somebody getting up in the morning early and go and exercise and they go and run. They do real exercise. When you look at the background, you see that their parents probably was into hard work, or the parents used to be athletes or something like that, right? These are traits that pass down. So the disposition of that person is one that has a trait from its hereditary, right? Which we all have. We all have something that our parents have, all of us. So the malaka is a property of the soul which comes into existence through exercise and repetitive practice and is not easily destroyed. It's something that's there it's difficult to get rid of, right? Because you do it, let's say for example, you grew up in a place where you had to work every day. You grew up and your parents had to work, and you get up, you have to work, your children had to get up and work. It's something that has been passed on. So you grow up even without thinking. I look at Sajjad across there as an example, Ahmad's son. Started doing some hard work outside there, digging them drains, right? Them beds. And the way he does it with ease and the seamless sort of perfection that he did it with. When people see him working, they say, wait, what that Ahmad does? You understand? And he's a youth man, nobody never taught him how to do something, just look at it and start doing it. Because his father was accustomed to doing that kind of work. Look at spouse selection as a serious thing. Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he wanted to find a warrior to protect Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he went to his brother and he said, I need to find a woman from a tribe of warriors, brave people. You understand? Not just somebody who he will show or he will tell her what he wants from her, or he will say, well, raise my son like this. No. He understood the concept of disposition coming down, hereditary disposition. So he said, find me somebody from a tribe who will give me a brave son. And then he found Banin, Fatima was her name, who was the mother of Abbas. And he had Abbas, who is now known through history. So disposition, physical traits, characteristics that come down from parents and genealogy is one of the aspects that form the disposition in somebody. It's one of the characteristics, 3 of them. So the first of them is natural things that you're born with, which are your physical traits or your hereditary traits. So the first one, I have the heading, physical traits. Even though the physical makeup of an individual produces certain dispositions in him, it is by no means true that the man has no choice in the matter. So when I think about this, I always think about this guy who asks, he's always begging for something, he always keeps coming around asking for money. But this guy's a big, strong guy, right? Big, strong guy. If you see him, you'll think, wait, well, nah, I didn't even want him to walk up to me. And he come up to you and say, I have $1, you got $1. And you think to yourself, well, boy, I know people who not as strong as you, who young as you, who working hard and making money. You are young, you're strong, you're looking like you're in good health, but you're coming to beg for $1. It means that not because he has this physical trait of being strong, like other people might have, means that he's going to automatically be a hard worker. Whereas somebody else who has that trait coming down generations of hard work, they might be small, they might be nashy, but they're accustomed working. So the mentality, the train, the body, the disposition is one that I need to work hard. And you see them working hard. So Not because you have a certain physical trait means that you're going to have no choice in the matter and you're compelled to act in a certain way. So, on the contrary, since man has the power to choose, he can overcome the dictates of his physical nature through practice and effort and can acquire the disposition of his choice. And this is what Islam is. Islam shows you that no matter where you're born, no matter what you do, no matter where you come from, you have the choice. As soon as you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, as soon as you become Muslim, you start practicing, you start refining yourself in a certain way, that you're moving away from certain traits that you might have been born with. So here a man say, boy, my father used to real drink. Before I became Muslim, I used to real drink, I was a real partier. You understand? But when you become Muslim now, you're refining that. So there are brothers and sisters who I know, even in our community, who into music. I was a big DJ. When he come into Islam, it was a process for him to let go of that music. Even though he was a Muslim for years, he had all his equipment and all that, he used to rent it out. Then eventually he said, no, I can't rent it out. He still had the equipment there, still doing stuff for family, they whatever. Eventually he said, I'm done with that music thing. Because it was a part of him for so long, and it was a part of his family, all that used to be in it. It took him a while to get rid of it, but it was a choice that he made. And eventually he let it go. So in terms of physical traits and characteristics, things that you would be born with or things that you had passed down, these things you can let go because it's a choice eventually in Islam that you can choose to go against that. That is much more difficult. If a man is born, let's say a man born easily, he could talk to women easily. And it has some people that are shy, you know, different dispositions. Some people are easy, like you just see somebody with easy flowing conversation, that is it. And that's where they become attracted to them easily. It's difficult now as a Muslim that now you have to refine yourself. You can't talk on mahram in a certain way. So you have to now refine yourself. You have to make a choice to go against that natural disposition. Even though it's something that you don't have, you're not doing actively, but it's a natural part of your physical and your disposition, your soul, the malaka of your soul. So you have to try and fight against that. So that's the first aspect of the way that the disposition is formed. The second one is perhaps the most important one to understand, because that is the one that all of us are stuck in right now. It's the one that you spend the most time trying to get out of. It's the one that forms the greater part of your disposition, and that is habit. So, you're born in a certain way, physically, mentally, in terms of traits, and then you start forming habits based on those traits. So let's say, for example, a girl is born very beautiful. So she has accustomed to complimenting her. So based on that now, she likes to pretty up herself, dolls up herself. And then from that, she getting compliments, she start hanging out with girls who nice like her, because she want to ugly girl around her, she not from the ugly girl squad. You understand? And then all of a sudden, her whole life now, her everyday routine is get up, dolls up, do my hair, do my makeup, get ready to go out, I look for the best clothes, so she probably go online, look at clothes, look at the latest fashion, she want to go shopping. All of her routine now is just about being beautiful. It's just about being beautiful every day. Then she probably started hit Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, showing people little videos, you know, these stupid videos they ain't doing nothing but the camera is moving and the head moving around. You understand? They ain't saying nothing. She becomes accustomed to that kind of life, right? That's her routine every day. You become Muslim now, and you tell yourself, well, okay, this is not what Islam is about. So now that habit that you developed for so many years, it became routine, it became part of your disposition. So now you're a Muslim, you have to find the balance now between beauty and modesty. You have to find the balance between acceptance from people and acceptance from Allah. So that routine that you engaged in for all these years, that habit that you built, and we look at habits in a bit, because habits so strong in Islam. It has such a great place in Islam. That is why you have to pray 5 times a day, every single day. Pray 5 times a day. So you don't forget it. You don't leave it. The salah becomes a part of you. Imam Ali Islam said, at least read 10 ayats of Quran, at least at minimum read 10 ayats of Quran every day. Why? So that the Quran can become a part of you. Because even from one of the hadiths of the Ahlul Bayt, they say that let young children read Quran because it mixes with their flesh and it becomes part of you as they grow. Right? And this is one of the khutbahs I was given. The same way music, for example, you keep listening to certain music or you keep listening to something, it becomes a routine. It's not just the physical routine where I walk into school every day, so I come walking, so I'm going to be easy for me. You understand? Is that anything that you're doing, we understand in akhlaq, all of the faculties are considered as part of the action. So your hearing, your sight, your speech, things that you eat, the things that you touch, the things that you do with any part of your sensory parts become a part of your action, and therefore your routines also become a part of that. Even your thoughts. Why is that Islam focuses on contemplation? Think about something. Allah says, "La'allakum tafakkarun," or "Afala tatadakkarun," or something like that. Is it that you wouldn't think? Is it that you wouldn't use your akal? Why is it that you don't think about this? I did this so that you can think. I give you the science so that you can use your intellect. Why? Because even your thoughts become a pattern. Look at people with depression. People with depression sit down whole day. Nothing is going right, blah, blah, looking at all the problems. Motivational speakers will tell you, stop focusing on the problems. Look at something that you have, focus on things that are going for you. And the more you focus on that, the bigger it comes. So you start thinking, well, I have more, I have something. And you start coming out of that mentality. And then every day they tell you, find something that motivates you. Find something that inspires you. So that you can think, even in your thoughts, your routine becomes that you don't think negatively. You start thinking positively in your thoughts. Why? Because in akhlaq, where does the behavior come from? The mind and your soul. You understand? So even in your thoughts, you start from there. Your routine starts from there. What is habit? The habit it is the thing which is formed because of a continual repetition of certain acts and leads to the emergence of a certain disposition. So it's repetition of a certain act. Every single day I get up. Sometimes a routine starts from somewhere else. Most times, your routine starts on something else, and then becomes part of you, and then you take it as your own and it becomes part of your disposition. So for example, you start a new job. You're working a new job, somebody showing you around. Yeah, well, this is how you work this go, right? They come and work, like the boss area there, they go across there, they follow the boss, and this is something serious. It's supposed to come to work 7 o'clock, but usually you come out about 8, 9, because nothing really happen at that time, really, right? When they come, you go across there, you get breakfast, everybody get the breakfast, you go across there. You come across there, you start the work about 10 o'clock, you can start, right? But you let them first and then do more of the work, or them has more experience, so you can rock back a little bit. From that, you're learning how to act every day in a routine. Every day now you're gonna come, you ain't gonna ask yourself, does it make sense what I'm doing? Is it that I should be doing work or should I just follow everybody else? You just fall into the routine. Come to work, you get records at a certain time, you listen. So now after 30 years in that job, you're just like a machine. You're doing the same thing every single day. The same thing. You're asking yourself if I can improve, if it makes sense. Nope, I'm getting paid, so let's go and do the same thing. And it's important that what you are doing, you are comfortable doing it, you keep doing it every single day, and you are rewarded for it without question. That is the main part of the habit, and you'll see why. In a job, that's just the example I'm giving, a job. It's a practical example. That you come to work, you do the same thing. It may not be efficient, you get paid for it, you go home. You come back, you do the same thing again. You keep doing that months, years, decades, and that is it. Why? Because when you look at how a habit is formed, a habit is a loop. A habit is a loop. When you look at psychology, a habit is a loop, and it goes from 3 things, goes back and forth, like it goes around a circle. A cue. The cue being a trigger. What triggers the habit? So for example, when I get nervous, I start shaking my foot. Or when I get nervous, I shut down, I go and sleep. Some people, when they get stressed, nothing, I just go and sleep. Some people bite the nails. In a greater sense, some people go and drink. People go and look for addictions. They look for sex. They look for different addictions that might give them some sort of ease or comfort from the stress. So there's a trigger for your habit. It may not be as bad as stress. It might just be something simple. When I wake up in the morning, I get my coffee. because I need to wake up. I ain't feeling so good, so I need my coffee. So they go to your coffee one time. So there is always a trigger for your action to make it a habit, right? Next is the routine. Once you get that trigger, you start the behavior that becomes the habit. So if I am somebody who's accustomed going on social media and getting likes, when I wake up in the morning, I wake up, oh, I'm up, let me see how much followers I have. Because it's looking for something, which is the last part of the habit loop, which is the reward. Every action that you do as a habit, you have the trigger, you have the action itself, and you have the reward. So when you go on the social media, your trigger is that you want to know what is going on with you. You're probably feeling a little self-esteem, probably low, so you want to go up and see how you're looking on the Instagram or how much likes you get from your last picture. You go on there, post a picture, right? So the trigger is that you're probably feeling low self-esteem. You post a picture, which is the action. You get some likes, you get a reward. You come back again next day, post again, and that's how you're going. That's the loop that's in there in terms of the habit. Or you wake up in the morning, you need to go on social media now. Even if you don't have any likes, you just want to scroll through social media because the trigger is that you need to know what's going on out there. So you wake up, oh, let me start going on social media. Because there is in your brain, there is a part of your brain that is concerned or attached or connected to habits, which is your, let's call it, your, I'll find it here. But there's a part of your brain that's connected to habits, which is also connected to dopamine release. So whenever you do something continuously, you feel comfortable and you get a reward, it's like you get a dopamine release in your brain. You know dopamine? You know dopamine? When a drug addict takes dopamine, when a man sniffing cocaine and he can't get him off of cocaine, it's because the first time he took cocaine, there was a burst of dopamine in his brain that caused him to say, well, this is the most pleasurable thing in the world. So every time he goes back to try and get that first high that he got, to get that dopamine release. Anytime an athlete wins a race, anytime somebody gets rewarded for something, dopamine is released in your brain. It's the feel-good hormone, dopamine. So anytime you feel any reward, anytime you feel any satisfaction, anytime you feel anything that is joyous, dopamine. So when you are in a habit, every time you get rewarded for that habit, your reward isn't something big. It's just the feeling of doing this thing over and over. Getting the comfort in it, you get dopamine release. And that is connected to a certain part of your brain. And that is why it's so difficult to break a habit. That is why it's difficult to break a habit, because it is in the part of your brain, not just that it's connected with the dopamine release, but the part of your brain that deals with unconscious behavior, right? So Dr. Hafiz mentioned that any habit we develop is because our brain is designed to pick up on things that reward and punish us. I should show you these slides. Right. So you have reward and you have punishment. Anything that a human being does, and it is part of Islam also. Why is it that the Quran is broken up into different parts? One part is speaking about heaven, one part is speaking about hell. Any ayat you go to in the Quran, you can find either praise of Allah, or you can find Allah subhanahu trying to push you towards hell or push you towards heaven or remove you from going towards hell. Punishment or reward. Allah subhanahu says what? Khalina fiha. They will live there forever. Where? In the heavens or the earth. On the heaven or hell. He will say the punishment is great for this, or he will say the reward is great for this, because it brings into the mind of the person who's reading now, okay, I want to get reward, I don't want punishment. Because everything we do is either, why is that I'm not going to walk straight into this wall and put my head? Because I understand punishment, I understand that self-preservation is the main thing of the human being. Why do we eat every day? When we get hungry, why is that we don't just say, well, okay, no problem, and wait until we get ulcers in our stomach and then drop down dying looking like Kubla was saying, and then no problem, let me just continue like this. No, self-preservation. Reward and punishment is about self-preservation. I do not want to get punished. I do not want myself to get destroyed. I'm not going to bite into my hand unless I'm sadistic or something. I'm not going to just wash my hand and bite into it and make myself bleed. because I can't take it. It's self-punishment. Why is it that some people can't take needles? Can't take nothing going into the skin because self-preservation, right? The concept of self-preservation in Islam is one of the main things that causes people to understand and imagine hell and heaven. Because I want to get there. I want to have this comfort. I want to be in this place where I can just rock back and get food and I can just be in bliss. When I tell them about hellfire and the punishment, is like, nah, I can't go through that. But the reality is that sometimes we don't really internalize. Don't understand why is it that when you read Journey to the Unseen, anybody ever read Journey to the Unseen here? People don't want to read that book. You know? There are people who don't want to read Journey to the Unseen. You know? When you tell them, yeah, read that book, is that you ever heard about Journey to the Unseen? I'll show you some of them. It happens in the library. It's about an Ayatollah who he had a dream. He basically asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show him what happens when you die in the grave. So he had a dream where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him what happened in the grave. So he said, and I died, basically. It started like that. And so I died. I saw my body there. They were doing my ghusl. His soul was standing up next to his body. He went, eventually, they took him for the janazah. He was walking up to everybody, but nobody could hear him. He's talking to everybody. He saw some people making dua, some people just lazing around and talking. And he asking them, make dua for me, do this. And he walking around to these people, but they can't see him. And it was like a kind of loneliness that he was experiencing even in that time. Then they were taking him to the grave. He was seeing in the grave, there were these beasts that were around. When they lowered his body into the grave, they started attacking his body. He started getting frightened and he's like, what going on here? He's like, no, come inside, come inside. Eventually, some people came and discussed the animals, discussed the guys, also salat and different things, charity and different things. Then he blacked out, they covered the grave. He was in the grave, he was just there, alone, silent. All of a sudden, the grave started to rumble. Two angels come out. Black and moon start questioning us. Run, fire. He said, if that hit him one of them run, that is it, he'll perish. So you get frightened so much that they're asking him questions and you can't even remember the answers. Although he's an Ayatollah, and one who was teaching the answers to them questions, you get shaky. So he was just going through the journey of the Barzakh, so the journey of the unseen. Basically, there's stations that you go through. So you're going from one station to the next, to the next, to the next, and you just continue like that until all of your deeds and things are accounted for. One point, before they left, they took him to this cage, and that is why in the Quran it speaks about the squeezing in the grave. Some people think that the squeezing in the grave is that, yes, the grave constricts and squeezes you, but there's a squeezing where they put you in this thing that squeezes everything from inside of you. And you see it looks like a black liquid that came out of it. Because what happens in the grave is that all of your deeds in this world, they manifest themselves. The concept in Arabic is mujassam. Mujassam means that it comes from the word jism. Jism meaning body. Mujassam means embodiment. It becomes physical. So the Quran that you read, the surahs that you memorize, they come to you on the day of judgment in the form of people to help you. The salat that you pray, when he reached in the grave and he saw the beast, the salat came in the form of somebody and dispersed the beast. Because everything becomes mujassam. It becomes a physical entity that you can see. So that you can understand the effects of your deeds. So he went along. There was one times when he came to a field of watermelons because he was thirsty and hungry. So in the grave, we have two people, Hardy and the next person. Hardy is a guide. That's the person who you listen to when you're looking at your good deeds and you take good counsel from yourself. Hardy comes in your life. In the grave, there's another person. When you take bad counsel, he shows up. So Hardy disappeared. So he came to an area where there were watermelons and he was hungry. So the watermelons belong to somebody. He's like, can't take it. He's like, don't worry, you're hungry, you understand. That was the next embodiment of listening to the bad side, listening to the ill advice. He said, "Oh, I man, I eat." So he start eating. He take up one watermelon sour. Next fella eating away. He throw that one out. He take up one next one. He eating it sour. He throw it out. Man, eating like, but you taking up all the good ones, man. He said, "Give me that one." When he tasted it sour, so he throw it. He's like, "What's going on here? Here, this is the times when you know that something was wrong, and you still do it." You understand? It was sour. You know that it was going to be sour, but you're still eating it. You still did it. So there's the action. The man come and beat both of them, and he bust out. So in the grave, the stations are like that. One point, he came because the angels take you ever so often back to your body. Even though you're going into stations and going on understand your actions, he took him back to his body ever so often to show him the body rotten. You had all that beauty in the world. You was considered all the beauty and how handsome you was. Look at this. Maggot sitting out your face now. You understand? He keeps showing him ever so often. Look at how your body rotten now. Look at how your body rotten now. So in the grave is a certain reality. It's serious. He came back at one point. He came in and he saw fruits and flowers and all kinds of things like there's provisions for him. He's like, "What is this?" He said, "Maula send that for you." You understand? Because I love for the imams or something that he did on behalf of the imams, he sent this way. He came back one time, he saw, I don't know what kind of animal it was, but something helped him along to ride on. Because we conceptualize the grave as just being in one place. But if you were to listen to the apple bite and if you were to read the Quran, different things, you'll see that there's a journey. And it's like, you could speak to people. It's not like you're just going around like, it's like a world. It's the next world, the afterlife. But you will still be facing consequences. It's not that you're going around on your own will. You have things that you have to do because you're answering for your sins, but it's still a world that you're in. So, punishment and reward.
You know, one thing I was surprised that you have to get the Caribbean to do.
Where?
Well,
you're going to do something. Yeah. Yeah, I will say. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's not like you can just rock back and, and the grave one and just dies it. I'll rest when I'm dead. Like, some people say I'll rest when I'm dead. It's not a rest. Yeah. You rest in peace now. All right. So reward and punishment. That's the main thing in the routine. Huh? I don't know. So Islam shows you that reward and punishment is one of the basic and most fundamental aspects of developing the soul, right? Even psychologists realize that reward and punishment is part of the formation of the habits. So forming a habit. In Islam, they say, if you want to form a habit, if you want to create a habit, do something for 40 days. Repeat the action for 40 days. You'll form the habit. When your brain recognizes a pattern, such as a connection between an action and satisfaction, it files that information away in an area of the brain called the basal ganglia. That's the word I was trying to remember. The basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is the part of the brain that is connected to emotional memories, but it is not conscious decisions that are made there. It's just memories and emotions. So things that you feel. This was feeling good. I remember that was really good, boy. So you want to go back there again. It's not a conscious thing. So that's why it is so difficult, as I said, for people to give up habits. Because it is subconscious that this thing has reward connected to it. Yeah.
Is it safe to say this is where Uju comes in? Because you think that you develop that self-conceit to say, I deserve this. I deserve that reward. I deserve to feel good.
We will go through that. Yeah, it has some connection to that. But Uju has to do with you seeing yourself as the most important. Even to the point of more important than others. So you're always seeking reward. Constantly, that's all they want, reward. You ain't concerned with difficulties, you just want comfort and reward. You understand? We'll go through that in the diseases of the soul, inshallah. So, in the habit formation, as mentioned here, it comes from a place where it's subconscious, and that's what habits are. This is the main thing that we need to understand about habits. It is subconscious, unconscious. It's not, I am aware and I'm doing this. It is subconscious, right? As soon as I reach outside, I had to get a bottle of water. I didn't thirsty, no, I just have custom again. As soon as I reach home, I don't rock back, throw up my foot and put on the TV. Do you need to look at something? No. Just need to rock back now. It's just a routine. I so accustomed to it. I have a bad habit when I reach home in the night, probably after 10. I have to go on my computer and sit down there until about 12 o'clock in the morning. Doing what? Just random things. I'll go on YouTube, I'll go on Instagram, I'll go on Facebook, I'll go on watch a movie. Just being there until about 12 o'clock after 12, and then go and sleep after that. Or sometimes fall asleep in front of my computer. Is that a good habit? No. But I'm accustomed to doing it for years because why? I'm accustomed to doing graphics. So I'll come home and do my graphics late in the night. Because I'm not doing as much graphics again, I fill that space with social media. So it's just a habit that I have, unconscious. You understand? Until you start looking at your habits, looking at what you're doing, and trying to understand the main thing in habits is what? What is the main factor in repetition? What is the main factor in a loop? What is the main factor in a habit? What is the main factor in all these things? Huh? Not reward. What's the main factor? What's the common factor in actions also? Action, loops, routine, habits. What's the common factor there? Common factor in that also. Time. Time is passing as you're doing all those things. In order to have a loop, you must go over action over time. In order to form a habit, it must happen over time. In order to do anything, in order to do any action, it has to happen over time. Time is the main thing that you're losing. And that is the most important thing. Because, as I said, in order to develop a habit, you have to do it over 40 days. At least in Islam, it says that 40 days is time. Everything that you do in the loop, forming a habit in your brain, the subconscious action, it takes up time. So, in Islam, you understand that time is crucial, time is important. You only have a certain amount of time on this earth. You don't have time to form bad habits and then trying to break them off when you turn 50, 60 years old. It's not going to happen. Because the longer you develop and the longer you take to solidify these habits, the harder it is to break them off. So time is the main thing. The faster you can catch up to your habits and look at yourself and see what are the habits that I'm developing or that I'm acting in, I have this loop that I'm going around in. The faster you can do that and try to break them off piece by piece, the better for you. Because the less time you have to spend trying to mash them up and then trying to redirect yourself to the better habits. So time is really important in this. So we must, in order to understand where we are, understand why we do things, we must look, first of all, at how we spend our time. You must look at how you spend your time. So every single day, if you can do that, which is our next exercise, look at how you spend your day from morning to evening. Write it down. I ain't talking about the schedule that you make in terms of I don't wake up tomorrow, I don't go down south, I don't go and do this, I don't go in the bank, not that. That is just a one-day thing that you're doing. But how do you spend the day? Even if you have to do that, when you wake up in the morning, do you wake up on time for Fajr? Why are you not waking up in time for Fajr? What is that you did the night before? If you wake up in time for Fajr, after Fajr until you leave home, what is that you are doing? When you look at those things, look at which one of those things were actual habits or as opposed to things that just popped up during the day. So let's say you wake up this morning, let's say you wake up 5 o'clock this morning, you prayed Fajr. Maybe somebody came or maybe somebody called you or maybe you're doing something that just happened at the time. You saw something that you need to pick up or something or clean. And so you did that. As opposed to when you wake up in the morning, every morning, you walk outside for a little bit, you go and make breakfast, you sit down on your phone, or you go and call somebody, you talk to them, you message somebody in the morning, you go on your social media. These things are habits. So you're looking at how is it I'm spending my day from the time I wake up until the time I go and sleep. And you're looking at the habits in between there. What is it that took up my time during this day? And then you can see which one of those traits, which one of those habits are things that I was born with, the dispositions of my soul that are making me inclined towards those things, and which one of those things are routines that I'm just accustomed with. right? So this is, as I say, every class we're looking at how you're refining your soul practically. The last way of forming the disposition, the khulq, is conscious action, practice and conscious effort. So somebody may have been born 10 weak, but because of consciously making a decision to go to the gym, I'm going to develop myself. And then from that now you develop a mindset of hard work, of strength and endurance over just comfort and weakness. So you change the disposition now. You train your body, you train your soul and your mind to do something against itself, which is the main part of akhlaq. That is the most important part of akhlaq. To train yourself to go against yourself. But it is hard when you have to break a habit to do it. Because you get so accustomed doing things without consciously and actively looking at them. Now that you have to engage in consciously breaking off habits and forming new habits, it is the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing, I can tell you that. Difficult. Hard. So, in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as for those who struggle in our way, surely will guide them in our ways. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle in our way, we will guide them to our ways. Now, in this, it speaks about the jihad. This is jihad al-nafs, the jihad of the self, the struggle of the self, the greater jihad as the Prophet peace be upon him mentioned. In the last class, we said that a group of people come back from battle. Prophet peace be upon him said, congratulations on the victory in the smaller jihad. The jihad of Sahir, which is what HH22 was speaking about during the Holy Month. And so, we now come from wars, battle. So what is the greater jihad? He said the jihad of nafs, jihad of yourself. That you find yourself in a way that even if you go out into the jihad of Sahir, into the battlefield, sometimes you will die for reasons other than Islam in the battlefield. So it makes your purpose and your background, your effort and your soul in a way where even if you were to die off of the battlefield, you still die as a shaheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his way. So he says, we guide them. Surely we guide them onto our ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the good doers, the muhsineen. Because in this ayat, it shows you that you struggle in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not just a mental thing. He says, wa inna allaha lama'al muhsineen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who do good, the good deeds. Because the good deeds, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if you were to, he said, counter or change your bad deeds or your sins by means of doing good deeds. What are good deeds here? What's the muhsineen? What's the muhsin hasan? Is that you're doing things, you're developing a routine of good deeds. You're consciously doing things that are good as opposed to the regular habits of the nafs that is inclined towards bad. And in the first class, I sent the slides in the group. When you look at what the man coming, he says that the nafs al-amara, the nafs that commands you to sue, to the evil, you need to refine that early because your soul is inclined towards evil. It's always leaning towards that. So you need to refine that. So you're struggling in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reach that, to reach his way. And then eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we are, I didn't put that translation here. Wa inna allaha lama'al muhsineen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who do good deeds. These are the things that help you to get away from the bad routines. You have to develop good deeds. You have to keep doing things, actively doing things, doing good, so that your body can become inclined towards doing good. You can become inclined towards a good disposition, right? Sorry. This is a popular ayat. Inna allaha yughayyiru ma yaqum biqawmin, sorry, hatta yughayyiruhu, until they change yughayyiru ma bin nafs bi anfusihim. it's in the translation, they make it seem as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes a people, like as a nation that he changes. The word as you say, he doesn't say until they change their selves in terms of their social selves or their politics or anything like that. He says he doesn't change the condition of our people except until they change themselves, and forcing him, until they themselves change themselves. It is a statement that shows you need to start refining yourself. You are the one who have to consciously make the effort to start refining yourself. I'm not just going to watch you and say, okay, let him just refine himself. No. You have to consciously, with difficulties, do it. Start refining yourself and acting upon what you should be acting upon. This is Surah Ra'ad, Surah 9, Surah 9, Surah 11, sorry. Surah 13, Ayat 11, Surah Ra'ad. I mean, 11.
Could you use, you think that, when one step forward, comes.
Tend to?
Could you use that yet?
I guess, but that is regarding actually doing the action. In terms of this, related to this ayat, yeah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it doesn't change unless you change yourself. So if you take one step, you take 10 towards you. That is in terms of actually starting to do the action. But what we're concerned with in this class right now is telling that it's you to do the action. You understand? It's upon you to do the action. Yes, when you start the action, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come to you and give you 10 times the reward. And that is the thing about good and bad, reward and punishment in Islam. If you look at reward and punishment in the hellfire, or even in the barzakh, or even in the punishment in this world, you only get what you act upon. Because evil is, how do you describe it? Evil is only as powerful as the evil. It doesn't have more power than you think it does. Some people, for example, if you talk to Christians, they think that the devil has dominion over hellfire, over the hell. They will say that he is the one who's in charge of hell. It's like God and the devil, and then we in between. It's not like that. Evil in Islam has no power. And it's one of the concepts in strengthening people to understand fighting against evil. Evil has no power. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you do one act of evil, he will punish that one act of evil with equivalent of that. But if you do good, he will give you 10 times reward. Because good has the power in it. It shows you the power of the good actions, the muhsin and the hasanah. That if you do good, the reward and the effects of that is sufficient and what you call munasib, which is appropriate for that, is that it multiplies. It can give you 10 times or even more. But evil has so little power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only punishes it by what it is. You see it, that's what he punishes for. You see the good, he gives you 10 times what you see. You don't see the effects of the good that you do. It's more than that. So, what is it that allows somebody to then move from not taking conscious action, not making conscious decisions, or not understanding the reality and the need for making conscious decisions and just acting in a way where you're just going with the flow? What is the difference between, what is the action or the concept between that not refining yourself or not understanding you need to refine yourself and you need to refine yourself? What is it? What will make somebody, what is the factor that will make somebody move from routine that is not healthy to refining themselves? Or let me just phrase it like this. What is it that makes somebody either change or not change? Either act or not act? What is the factor that's underlying there?
Would it be the desire for the reward?
What gives you that desire for reward?
Your
What gives you the
Iman.
desire not to get punished? Huh?
Your Iman.
You say Iman. You say remembrance. Like a consciousness.
Forgetfulness.
Forgetfulness and remembrance.
Yeah.
Hi, what you say? Sorry, that music not coming from the mosque, eh? Falling on the Zoom. What was that? What was the underlying factor? Mommy, what do you think is the underlying factor? That is it. Marifat. Self-consciousness. Your concept of yourself. How do I see myself? Who am I? It's the main thing. Your self-concept. It's the most basic, at its most basic, self-concept is a collection of beliefs one holds about the oneself and the responses of others. It embodies the answer of the question, who am I? Who am I? It's the main question in refinement of the soul. Who am I? Why am I doing all of this? Is it that in this world, is it that I'm defined by people's reactions to me? Is it that I'm defined by what I am rewarded by in this world in terms of money or whatever? Who am I? Am I a Muslim? Am I a Trinidadian? Am I a black man? Am I a professional? Am I a student? What is it that I define myself as when I look at myself, when I reflect upon myself? Who am I? It then shows you by means of association with others, by means of the self identity that you have made for yourself over the years based on whether it is whatever factors that have formed your idea of yourself, whether it is family, culture, nationality, race, money, whatever that has made you understand that this is who I am, and you see yourself as this personality. Because based on that, then you will see the need to refine yourself to become more like that person that you want to be. If I define myself as a professional, if I say I'm a lawyer, for example, every day I'm going to do something to try and make myself a better lawyer. So I'm going to look for other lawyers who are successful. I'm going to read my law books. I'm going to go to court. I'm going to look for a nice suit. Because in my mind, the most important self-concept, the most important concept of myself that I have, when I answer the question, who am I tell myself I'm a lawyer. I don't tell myself I'm a Muslim, or I'm a mu'min, or I'm a Shia, or I'm a follower. I tell myself I'm a lawyer. So when it comes to, and something that you look at around Muslims in our community and even in the country, Muslims in general, you look at the way that they treat the Islamic actions and the Islamic function, and look at the way they treat their secular roles in society. You look at the importance that they put on either one, and you will see where their self-concept lies. You will see the answer for who they think they are. Who am I? Because you will see, for example, Ashura coming and so they have whatever and I have whatever, right? Because that is more important. My self-concept is that I'm a student before I'm a Muslim. I'm a professional before I'm a Shia of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It might sound bad, but that's the reality of self-concept. The moment you reconcile that self-concept is the moment you start refining your soul. Because you see your soul in the barzakh or in the hereafter as most important, even more important than this world. And it's one of the things that somebody was saying recently about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He saw the value of himself or the value of Islam as more important as the value of his life and his safety. Because he saw himself as a servant of Allah over him being whoever he had a status in Medina and people coming to him as the Imam or whatever. He saw his servitude and his service to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as more important than that, even over his life and his self-preservation. So Your self-concept is the thing that is going to push you to refine your soul or to say, well, that's not important. Let me continue my routine. Let me continue as I am, because at the end of the day, my reward comes from this space. It doesn't come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My reward comes from the likes on social media or my job or the people who are around me who giving me whatever kudos they're giving me. Whatever reward I'm getting based on the habits that I have. Remember we said that the habits are a cycle, it's a loop. The cue for the action is what? People tell me I'm looking good, so I'm going to dress up. Dressing up is the routine. I had to go and find some clothes. I had to do this. I had to come out every Friday for Juma. I had to come out looking at the Prophet, peace be upon him. So I come out that turban, I come out that staff, and I'm walking down the road. Right? That's the cue. The reward is like, God, mashallah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen, brother akhi, assalamu alaikum, sheikh. Because I'm looking good. And I come back into that again. Next Friday. The cue is that I need to come back out to look good again to the people. Because your reward is in the praise of the people. Your self-concept is not that you are Muslim or you have to do good deeds. Your self-concept is what they're telling you. The reward I get from them, it tells you, okay, I am this person who the people look at and they look to look like the Prophet, peace be upon him. Or at least my idea of what the Prophet, peace be upon him, to look like. Your self-concept is the most important thing. As soon as you see yourself as a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all situations, everything else just melts away. Everything else just fade out. And you're telling yourself, wait, boy, nah. Look at myself in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How close am I to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Nah, I need to do something better. I need to refine my soul. I need to start up on this path of refinement of the soul. And when you look at it from that, in terms of asking the question, who am I, in terms of the self-concept, use that as the question when you're looking at your daily routine. The exercise that you have to do, we're looking at everything that you're doing from morning to evening. Use that question as the underlying question. Probably write it big on your page on top. Who am I? Put self-concept in a bracket. And then you look at your routine. And every time you look at something that you do, you ask yourself, does it come from Allah or does it come from somebody else? And then you're categorizing your habits. You're looking at your routine and your habits and you're categorizing them. Reward from Allah or reward from something else? For money or for something else? And you keep going down. Of course, money is necessary because you have to live. By the end of the day, it cannot be the end all of your goal. It has to be a means for you to reach to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're still looking at that reward in relation to who am I? Servant of Allah. Who am I? Servant of Allah. Is it that my sit down on social media for 3 hours when I reach home is part of servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, I just getting some sort of self-satisfaction from that, for myself probably. So I need to change that habit. I need to work on that habit piece by piece. Do I wake up in the night? Do I stay up late in night to make tahajjud? Because reward is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or I stay up late in night to watch a movie so I can tell my brothers, yeah, well, you watch a movie, right? You understand? Because even if it's for yourself, to watch a movie to feel good for yourself, the reward is not with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So your self-concept, your idea of who you are, is still not aligned with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? So that's the exercise, and that is our class for today, inshallah. Any questions? Salawat. Yeah.
So, the idea of pleasing Allah as a learning words, the idea of a way to describe this one as technically, but I'm just possible. He get a sense of a feeling good from that.
Right.
Amongst the Muslims, or everybody believe in Allah. So both of them have reward from this view. Both of them are reward. So how does a conviction have a part to play in it? So he convinced himself that the brothers or compliments, making him feel good, he look pious. He might think
because from the Muslims.
Right, he might reach a stage of marathon from that. But he recognized the efforts to please Allah, the purpose of Allah, because he's not getting a sense of feeling good from that. So how does one really come to a conclusion that Kerberton and Allah is the way. But you can understand
So
that.
you differentiate between them.
But both of them have reward.
There's a major part of shirk. When we come to shirk later on, it's probably in December, inshallah. December is really close. When we come to shirk, you will see that shirk is not just what is shirk? What is shirk?
Associating partners with Allah.
Right. What is shirk?
Associating partners with Allah.
Oh, yes, I'm going to give you the same answer. How many different types of shirk are there?
I'm not going to pretend like I know. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything as far as that is concerned.
Right. So you have.
But yes, I would agree that it has different levels.
Right.
Of this thing.
Have different types of shirk. Because there are different types of worship. So if you have different types of worship of Allah, different types of tawheed, on the flip side, you have different types of shirk. So there's tawheed of Allah. When you look at in Islam, many times to understand negatives, you have to look at the positives. And in order to understand one side of something, you have to look at the negative, the flip side of it. In order to look at the flip side, you have to look at what is not. So for example, if you go through mantiq, which is logic, part of logic, the study of logic in Islam, is saying that if A is A, it cannot be B. You understand? So you look at all the characteristics that make something A, and then you realize that B is something outside of that. But not necessarily all of things that are outside that are B. If you understand what I'm saying. If I say this is a laptop, or human being, the best example is a human being. A human being is an animal, but you can't define all animals as a human being. So I have to go further into it now. What is it that distinguishes and differentiates the human being from other animals? It eats, it walks, it talks. Other animals do that. What is it that differentiates the human being? Is that it speaks with logic, it expresses itself. No other animal does that. They might move, they might bark, but that's just instinctive. In order to express, that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allamahul Bayan in Surah Rahman. He says he taught expression. Expression comes from intelligence, that you have to be able to intelligently place things together to express them. Not just repeating or just interacting. Bees could interact. Bats can interact. They don't speak that much or they don't say anything, but they can interact. But the human being expresses. It's bayan, it's something different. When you look at shirk and tawheed, in order to understand the different types of shirk, you look at different types of tawheed. So you have tawheed of essence. Tawheed of essence says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one in his being, that nothing else is like Allah. He is one. You can't say, well, I can see something, I can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somewhere else, because it's impossible. For those who were in the class, in the beginner's class, we went over that when we had the last class. When you look at the first sermon of Najul Balagha by Imam Ali alayhi salam, you can look at that to understand Tawheed, the different types of Tawheed. So you have Tawheed of essence. You have Tawheed of worship, which is what most people see when they think about Tawheed. Like, don't worship anything except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't go and pray to a stone or pray to an idol. That is Tawheed of worship. That's one type of Tawheed. You have Tawheed of attributes. So Tawheed of essence is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only being like that. Tawheed of attributes is that other beings share in these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you see Hindus, they break up their God into different attributes, and they say, well, it's manifested in different things. Right. That is Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is apart from that. Another thing is the Tawheed that it comes from the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one of the attributes, that He's powerful, all powerful. So when you see yourself as having some power or some sort of characteristic that is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is what pride is. Pride is one type of shirk. As Imam Ali described, said pride is the beginning, is like one type of shirk. When you see yourself as having characteristics that are praiseworthy, you have entered into the hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't say hamdulillah. We say alhamdulillah. All praise to Allah. So any praise that I attribute to myself, whether it comes from people or whether I think, well, hey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pleased with it. So I look good on this Friday with this thing, Aki, alhamdulillah, mashallah. And you feel that pride in you, that this praise coming to me, and it's because of what I have done and how I look in, sure. It's one type of shirk. Pride. You're attributing what is Allah's to yourself. You understand? So that is the difference between the praise that comes from people and understanding how far you take it from them and how far to understand that it's nothing to do with you. You understand? It's a type of shirk. You have to be very careful with. Another type of shirk is the shirk where, let's say, time for Salat come, and somehow we all guilty of. You say you believe La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, there's no God but him, La sharika lah, that I don't associate anybody with him. But when time for Salat comes and you're supposed to be praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're doing something else. Shirk. Right? Because that TV, that show that you're watching, that football and something, that thing you're doing, you're placing it on a higher importance than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this is the time for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you're placing it on a higher importance than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sure. So be real careful of that. Right? So, I hope that answers your question. Any more questions? 11:46. I just.
Hopefully, you can answer. The next part is really reforming the conviction. Reforming the conviction. I'll give you 2 examples.
Sitting back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right. So, how does one sit? Maybe because remember we have blind imitation as well.
Right.
So, how does one come to a conclusion as Allah alone? But we gain a sense of goodness from both. How do we convince ourselves?
We'll go through all that in the class because all those things have to come with diseases of the soul.
Okay.
Diseases of the soul is very, very, very important. Serious. It makes you realize that your soul, everything that you're doing within your soul and yourself is like it pushing you towards yourself, as opposed to refining that and breaking off the things that pushing you to look at yourself and look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? So your mind has to be reconditioned to turn into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as opposed to turn into yourself. Because anytime you turn into yourself, you see yourself as more important. So you see yourself as deserving of everything. You get angry quickly because you see yourself as deserving this thing and not getting it. So I have to get mad. You understand? You see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is the giver and taker. He's the one who probably diverting some punishment from you or something that wasn't supposed to happen. So he's the one who you should divert your attention to. No, it's me. I need to get this. I can, So inshallah, we'll look at those things. I think we should leave the class there. I don't know if anybody on the Zoom has any questions before we go.
Explanations were clear and I got it.
Alhamdulillah. All right, so that'll be class there. We'll end with Surah Asr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العلي العظيم